Texans fall to 0-2. Let's make sense of it. The week 2 recap, the biggest overreactions, the biggest certainties. A lot to get into, such little time. Let's go inside the locker room, presented by Sleeper.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey. Locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give.
This has been a wild reaction Monday. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. You can hear me, see me on SNL Monday through Friday. We had Reaction Monday there, as well as the Texans Collective, which we had Reaction Monday there. But it's normally something that we do Monday. But because yesterday there was a game, we pushed the post-game show back to Monday. And today we'll be taking a look at the localized POV of the Texans through week 2. And it's not a pretty one. There's a lot of upset people out there with the way this Texans team has played. There's a lot of concerned people out there when it comes to the 3 most important faces of this organization, the GM, the head coach, and the quarterback. I think some you should probably be worried about more than others. And there's a team in the division that's 2-0 that's getting a little bit of attention as the Texans look to get that first dub. Before we jump into this, let's talk about Sleeper. Sleeper is sponsoring this video, and Sleeper, it's the go-to sports app. I'm a big fan of Sleeper. I'm a big fan of it as my score app. I'm a big fan of the game higher lower. There's a reason that it's the most popular sports app in the game right now. There's a reason that we have the survivor pool in there. There's a reason my fantasy league is there now. It's not just about football. They got baseball, they got basketball, the higher lower. It's as good as it gets. It's the best way to experience and connect over sports. One-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate on the chat. It's a less obnoxious version of the other site you typically go to and scroll through timelines. It's blazing fast. The Score app is insane. It is the most updated, precise scoring app possible. I know we've become used to scoring apps, but this one is what you need when it comes, especially on Sundays, for following fantasy. So download the number one sports app today. We'll play some higher lower later on throughout the week, and you can get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Use the promo code LOCKER. Shout out to Sleeper. Absolute gem of an app, and something really good that I have really enjoyed. What a lot of people did not enjoy the Texans yesterday. Wasn't great. Wasn't great with what we saw from the Texans yesterday. And there have been a few hot takes that we will start right off the top with. There have been 4 overreactions, and these aren't one-offs. These are overreactions, which can sometimes be appropriate reactions about the Texans that we'll jump right into. And we'll start with overreaction 1. There's been talk that Demeco is not the right guy. Demeco's too defensive-minded. He can't figure out the offense. He doesn't seem to have a grasp of what's going on. A lot of times he simplifies stuff. I think this is a significant overreaction. I think Demeco Ryans is 100% the right guy. And I think even if you don't think he is, he's going to get to ride this thing out. His shelf life is higher than any other member of this organization. This is Demeco's ship. And even if the Texans have a disappointing season, if this continues, Demeco's not going anywhere. And quite frankly, I don't think he should. I do think that there is cause for concern that the defense and offense aren't quite aligned. But as far as Demeco, I thought he was terrible yesterday in clock management at the end of the game. I thought there was no urgency at the end of the first quarter. I think just because a lot of NFL games come down to one possession doesn't mean you have to play for it to be a one possession game. And I think that's what a lot of old school defensive coaches do. And I think there's a possibility that Demeco Ryans may partake in that. It would be nice to have some urgency at the end of the first half. And it would be nice to have some wherewithal at the end of the second half to call the timeouts. I've heard people say, this has been a problem with Demeco clock management during his tenure here. I've watched every snap of football that he's coached here, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I think you can maybe point to a couple of examples, which is always easy to do for us Monday morning quarterbacks. But I didn't think that this has been like some sort of ongoing theme or ongoing example of the Demeco Ryans era. I just think it was the case yesterday. And it almost seemed like he was just kind of throwing a fit after he dialed up a perfect blitz. Henry To'oTo'o whiffed, and the Buccaneers got past midfield, and they ended up winning. He called 2 timeouts with the clock stopped. That was dumb. To not at least try to steal some time for potentially your offense to figure it out, and to call timeouts when the clock was stopped, dumb. Not smart. Happens, not good. But as far as Demeco not being the right guy, I think it's way too early to say that. On the super chat,
you ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Von Clutch says sitting Pierce to not play Brooks was pretty weird. Brooks played special teams. He's a big part of what they do on special teams. So he did play. Dameon Pierce wasn't set for Brooks. Dameon Pierce was just set because he doesn't really contribute on special teams, and he had the gaff on kick return. So Brooks is still a big part of their special teams. They didn't really handle that. Overreaction number 2. And we go from coach to quarterback. Overreaction number 2. And again, overreactions can be correct or incorrect. So just because I'm saying overreaction doesn't mean I do or don't agree with it. CJ Stroud's not a franchise QB. I think there are questions here. I think there are questions here when it comes to CJ Stroud. He hasn't been good for a while. And if you look at the last 13 games, he's been statistically one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, one of the worst starting quarterbacks in football. We can talk about surroundings. I'm not saying they don't matter, but that's kind of astonishing. When you look at that he's been one of the worst in the last damn near season, one of the worst statistical quarterbacks in football. There's also been, during that stretch, there's been times where he's admitted that he wasn't having fun, and he's admitted that he has bad body language. And we've seen coordinators change. We've seen offensive lines change. We've seen receivers change. And for some reason, they're having the same exact issues with CJ Stroud. Now, the question is, what is a franchise quarterback? What do you consider a franchise quarterback? Because I think there's a big difference between being elite, which is really less than a handful of guys, and a franchise quarterback, which is someone that you pay for over a half decade to lead your franchise. Does that mean they're a good franchise quarterback or not? It means that they're going to get a nice chunk of market value money. And I think right now, there has to be at least a little bit of pause when it comes to, at least for me, when it comes to if I think that if the Texans pay CJ Stroud, that's going to go well. Or is it going to be an example of when the Raiders paid Derek Carr, when the Jags paid Trevor Lawrence? I think there's cause for concern. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's undoubtedly not. I'm just saying when it comes to the intangible factors, which have admittedly been off, when you openly say you haven't had fun and you have bad body language, when you're statistically, for the better part of what equates to a season, one of the worst statistical quarterbacks in football, you got to wonder a little bit if this is going to be the guy that takes you to the promised land. I can say undoubtedly he's not close to what Deshaun Watson was at this point. He's not close to it. And you can make a case that the surroundings around Deshaun Watson were worse. You can make that case. It was never awesome for Deshaun. They had some talent, but it was never awesome. But he was an elevator whenever he was at his best, before we got to everything that went down. And it feel like the money kind of changed him a little bit in more ways than one. I'm not even referring to the stuff off the field. But the way that you felt amidst year 3 of Deshaun Watson, the way you feel right now for CJ Stroud, you can make a case the surroundings were similar. Deshaun Watson won 11 games with Julian Davenport as his starting left tackle. Like, he didn't quite have like some world beaters on the offensive line. Nobody thought Bill O'Brien was some sort of genius. The defense was up and down. So I think taking a close look at CJ Stroud and how you feel when you inevitably going to pay him, I don't think that's an overreaction. I think the Demeco Ryans thing is an overreaction. I don't think taking a close look at Deshaun Watson is an overreaction. Overreaction number 3, Nick Cacerio needs to be fired. He can't evaluate offensive lineman. Nick Cacerio needs to be fired. I don't think Nick Cacerio needs to be fired, but I damn sure think he doesn't need a contract extension before this season ends. I always roll my eyes at that. The notion that these guys need contract extension. You don't want a lame duck coach. Most people in the real world are lame ducks. How many bad coaching contracts are there in athlete contracts? The reality is Nick Cacerio had his buddy Jack Easterby, and I'm sure they're not as tight anymore, but he had his buddy Jack Easterby negotiate his contract with an agent that represented both of them. Play that shit out. We can get you a new one like after the season, and maybe we can have like a coming to Jesus meeting and figure some stuff out. But let's play that shit out. Okay, you kind of had a very favorable situation on this contract. So forgive me for thinking you need to play this out, especially as it feels like this has been the same ball club for the last 3 years with early potential warning signs that it could be worse. Let's just play that shit out a little bit. I'm not saying you need to be fired. I'm just saying the contract that your buddy negotiated with the agent that represented both of y'all, let's just let that expire, please. I don't feel sorry for you. I think what are you making? Closer to 10 million than 1 million? I mean, somewhere 6, 7 million, whatever it is, I heard. Let's play that shit out, please, with the contract. So that's overreaction 3. We can figure that out. There's nothing set in stone when it comes to the that situation. And then overreaction 4, CJ Stroud misses Tank Dell. That was one of the weirdest things to me when it comes to the press conference yesterday. And I know that Cron.com is more so just about playing hits. But we're asking about Tank Dell at a press conference for CJ Stroud. Like, really, that's what we're putting into the atmosphere. I know Tank's very popular here. I know if you put a video up of Tank Dell, then it might get you something. But we're really asking about Tank Dell. I saw someone tweeted earlier today. Let me just present some statistics here. So Tank Dell last year, when the offense was falling apart, he had 3 games where he had 1 catch or less. He had 6 games where he had 3 catches or less. He had 8 games where he had 4 catches or less. And then he had 4 good games last year. Like, this offense was a disaster throughout that. I like Tank Dell. I hope Tank Dell can figure out what the hell is up with him. And maybe he's able to even step on a field and stretch. But that's pathetic that was even asked, honestly. That's just showing up and trying to get a little something or not following things. That's actually embarrassing for that to have even been mentioned. he did last year. Collins went down, Diggs went down, and his production was as low as it had been, as the offense was bad. Let's be serious for real when it comes to that. So those are the 4 overreactions. We'll get back to the 3 faces. I think CJ needs to be closely evaluated. I think you got to figure out how Demeco, how the team responds, and then Cacerio, let it play out, and then you can evaluate it a little bit later. Danny says that question was so out of pocket. It was pathetic, honestly. It's really just click chasing. It's actually really embarrassing. How much do you miss Tank Dell? What? Like, did you watch last year? That was weird. That was a really weird question. On the soup.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Josh Arnoldy says, do you think the home opener boos could have been a reality check for coaches for how they view this team and how? But no, I don't think so. I think booing is just a part of sports. When you suck, you get booed. They sucked, they got booed. CJ Stroud threw a bunch of uncatchable passes, he got booed. The offense showed no urgency, they got booed. The defense was missing tackles, they got booed. That's what it should be like. It was a pretty rocking crowd, honestly. So no, I don't think there's like some sort of message for booing. What'd you want him to do? Cheer? That would have been crazy. Danny says I should be on Cacerio and scouting spending. Yeah, that's why you let the contract play out. You let the contract play out. But the offensive line evaluation, like, it almost feels like if you point to something, you're giving excuses to Cacerio and you're giving excuses to CJ Stroud. And I thought yesterday was just a really, really bad day for CJ Stroud when it comes to perspective. And if you are one of the people who's just gang, ride or die with your quarterback, I thought yesterday was a really bad symbol for CJ Stroud for a number of reasons. Number one, he has a bad offensive line. Baker Mayfield's all-world tackle is out. Charlie Heck was starting for the Bucs. We know he sucks. He couldn't even make the Texans last year. Okay? CJ Stroud's offensive line has sucked the last 2 years. Tampa Bay just started someone who couldn't make the effing team. The center moved to left tackle. Despite the fact Will Anderson had 10 pressures, Baker Mayfield was actually managed to only get sacked once. Despite the fact Baker Mayfield didn't have Chris Godwin, CJ Stroud didn't have Christian Kirk, Baker Mayfield was able to put his wide receivers in position to make plays. He was able to extend plays. As CJ Stroud is kind of moping around, Baker Mayfield is showing the ultimate example of body language and leadership, getting nose to nose with CJ Gardner-Johnson. You know, there's been all this talk about this quarterback, that quarterback, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. Like, Justin Herbert's up here, CJ's here right now, and Baker Mayfield is above CJ Stroud too. So I thought it was a really bad day for CJ Stroud because everything that you could say that he has going on or doesn't have going on, Baker Mayfield had. CJ Stroud has Nico Collins. There are a couple throws that Nico Collins had no chance of catching. Baker Mayfield has Mike Evans. Mike Evans is older. Nico Collins should be a better player than him right now. Oh, CJ has a first-year offensive coordinator that has never called plays before. Baker Mayfield has had that for 3 straight seasons, and he's completely revived his career, and he's playing better than he ever has. So it was just a really bad example where all the excuses that you can make for CJ Stroud, they could have been used by the other quarterback, and the other quarterback led his team to a victory. So it was a tough day for CJ Stroud. On the super chat, Mystic Got Skills says, do you think Woody Marks can play a bigger role this season? I see a lot of potential. Yeah, he should play more. The snap share difference between him and Dare Ogunbowale was 27 to 20%. That's a joke. Dare Ogunbowale had one of the worst pass pro outings that I think you'll ever see, just based on your eyes and based on PFF, which you always take with a grain of salt. But the grades match the eyes. There's no reason to have Dare Ogunbowale out there. So there should be at least a 30% share, 35 whatever with Woody Marks. That should 100,000% happen. As we take a look at something else that's going on that impacts the Texans, I want to kind of touch on the Colts. And I'm going to ask the question, how legit are the Colts? The Colts right now are 2-0. They beat a really good Denver team. And they smacked around a not good team in week 1. The Colts are not going to run away with the division. I don't think that's going to happen. That they're going to run away with the division. But they are going to be there at the end. And they have a really good coach. They have a really good coach. He might be the best coach in the AFC South, if we're being honest with each other. And I think it's only fair if we're going to play the surroundings game when it comes to speaking of our own guys. CJ Stroud. Then you got to look at what Shane Steichen has had to work with in Indianapolis and how close he was to winning the division with Gardner Minshew as quarterback. He's a drop pass away from having as many division titles with Gardner Minshew as Demeco Ryans has with CJ Stroud. And he has less playoff wins. But again, he's a drop pass away from having as many division titles. He has as many regular season wins as Demeco Ryans. They have the exact same regular season record. The exact same. He's a good coach. Sometimes you just don't have the right quarterback, but he's a good coach. He was the Texans' second choice. He's 20-16. Demeco's 20-16. They're going to be there. CJ Stroud should still be the best quarterback in this division, but they're going to be there. And as much as it's easy to kind of frown upon what the Colts are, you're on the same level. You're on the same level. It's where they are right now. Now, with all that said, I do believe that the Texans have a higher ceiling because we kind of know what Daniel Jones is. But the Texans defense, although it hasn't been elite yet, the Texans do have a higher ceiling and the defense does have potential. Defense hasn't been elite. Defense has been really solid. They're the only team to allow this amount of points and not have a dub. So I do think the ceiling can be higher. But the Colts, how legit are they? Legit enough to beat you and win the division just like they were 2 years ago before the drop pass with Gardner Minshew. So that's where the Colts are. Wouldn't really count them out. Quillman on the chat says, do y'all give up on your kids this fast when they have a couple of bad games? Geez, you guys are brutal. That sounds dramatic. That feels a little bit dramatic. Rob says the Colts have built a better team 100%, offense and defense, and then went and got a QB. Shaking my head. We are ignorant. I don't know how good their squad is. I know that Daniel Jones is the best quarterback that Shane Steichen's had. What does that mean? Rob on the chat says, Landry, you are dead wrong for real. Stop putting this on CJ and Nick and excusing Demeco. Dime formation on the 2-yard line. No OC will want to come here because of Demeco, not Nick. I thought Bobby Slowick was kind of a little bit highly touted, and Nick Caley was one of the more highly touted guys. But I don't know how you can exclude CJ. Like, do you think that little of him? It's kind of weird. Like, you don't, on one hand, you're riding and dying with him, but on the other hand, like, you're not really holding him to a very high standard. Like, I thought accuracy was his thing. Like, does that mean that everything has to be perfect, and if he gets pressured, then you can't make the plays? That's what I'm confused about. Like, it's the ultimate example of keeping it real goes wrong. Like, what do you think he is? Do you think he should throw a catchable ball to Nico Collins? Do you think that he should throw a catchable ball to Xavier Hutchinson? Do you think he should throw a catchable ball to Justin Watson in the end zone? Like, on one hand, you're excluding him and saying he's good, but on the other hand, you're not holding him to very high standards. Like, we're throwing out parent analogies, which I think are pretty dramatic when it comes to completely giving up. They're 2-0, they're 0-2, so that's all you have to judge it off of. But, like, do you ride and die for your kids and give them all types of excuses when they make bad grades in school, and then applaud them when they get C's on the test? Like, I don't understand this. Like, what are your standards for CJ Stroud? There's plenty of blame to go around, brother. Like, this isn't a set thing. That's the thing that drives me nuts on Reaction Mondays, or in this case, Reaction Tuesdays, when it comes to talking about football. He's not the biggest problem. Okay. Who cares? Who cares? I don't look at CJ Stroud the way I look at Tom Savage or Brock Osweiler. If Brock Osweiler would have had a game like CJ Stroud had yesterday, you guys would have been on his ass. Why? You knew he sucked after a while. We've seen good stuff from CJ Stroud. So why is he not getting held to the highest standard? Like, are you worried you're going to hurt his feelings? If you are, and that's the case, then you don't have the right guy. How much shit do you think Baker Mayfield went through when he was going through the adversity he went through? How much crap do you think Josh Allen went through? Lamar Jackson? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Hold him to some sort of standard. It's okay to do that. You're fixing to have to make a decision and pay him a lot of money. Yeah, Demeco's defense hasn't been elite. Dime formation on the 2-yard line. I don't know what the Jalen Petrie thing is. It's annoying. We've talked nonstop about Nick Cacerio, about the mistakes he's made when it comes to evaluating the offensive line. But you want to keep CJ Stroud on the nipple and act like there's no expectations for him. You're the one that's disrespecting him. I'm not disrespecting him. I hold CJ Stroud to a standard. And there can be multiple things wrong. We saw what Baker Mayfield did with similar situations. We saw what happened with CJ. Von Clutch says CJ has been sacked more than Andrew Luck. Is that all the offensive line's fault? Did Andrew Luck ever go up there and say, I'm not having fun? Now he abruptly retired. But is that all his fault? Or all the O-line's fault? Maybe the answer is yes. But there can be multiple reasons why a team loses. We'll get back to the comments in a sec. First, I want to talk about something I do like. It's very soothing. I love going in my backyard. I love putting my feet on that turf, that Texans turf. Best thing I did for my crib. I shopped around and I arrived at Dan and his squad at Texans Turf. I was a customer before they followed me to the radio station, and then they follow me on the digital game. They don't have the stupid limits that a lot of these places have. They're cheaper. They have more options, and they take care of you. They customize it however you want to do it. If you got the putting green, you want a putting green in your backyard, they got you covered. Pretty cheap. You want it surrounded by the grass, they got it. It's easier to clean. There's no mud. The daughter loves it. The dog loves it. The wife loves it. We got the fire pit back there. It's lovely. I love Texans Turf. It's beautiful. I take a lot of pride in it. Easier to clean up after the dog. Still water it. Fresh as it's ever been. Love me some Texans Turf. Love that the fact that in the very, very growing artificial turf game, Dan and his team are still doing their thing. There's a lot of advertisements you see for this stuff. None of them are better than Texans Turf. He's done some of the biggest ballers in town, and he did a good job for me. So shout out to Texans Turf. Give him a call. Go to texansturf.com. Check it out. He's got you covered. You will not regret it. Let's go back to the chat. It'll be all right. It's 0-2. We've seen this team go 0-2. Where they go 0-2, 0-3, right? In 18 was O'Brien. And then they went 0-2 in year one with Demeco. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Mr. Heisenberg says, I talk a lot of crap, but I'm not giving up on CJ just yet. There's a long season left to go. Yeah, you don't have to give up on him, but I think you gotta raise the eyebrows a little bit and look and evaluate it. I mean, it's a large sample size at this point with multiple things. The quick game would definitely help. I agree on that. Quellman says, if this team falters again, not hiring a proven offensive coordinator will be Demeco's biggest downfall. I compared him to Tomlin to some extent, but I don't want to adapt that aspect on him. I don't care about the proven offensive coordinator. I really don't. I don't really care. I'm fine with just hiring someone that you trust. Baker Mayfield has had, again, this goes back to it. Baker Mayfield's had 3 first-year offensive coordinators 3 years in a row. 2 of them got head coaching jobs. So it's not really that big of a thing. Every offensive coordinator at some point was a first-time play caller. And most offensive coordinators that are out there, they sucked at some point and got fired. So I don't really care about that. D. Matt says the Texans going to be all right. One game at a time. You have to go through the ups and downs. It's a new season. Been here before. I still have faith in the Texans to make it right. Yeah, I mean, as far as winning the division, making the playoffs, sure. I agree with you. CJ's going to have to play better. The defense is going to have to be the superpower. But yeah, as far as, it's on to the draft or fire everyone, I would say no. Holton Newburn on Z Chat says, I'm late to the show, man. I was there last night. Very hard to watch, at least on the offense. But yeah, maybe if they took preseason's a little bit more serious, it wouldn't take 3 to 4 weeks to click. So you're saying they're going to click in 3 to 4 weeks. That's good news. That's big news from Holton. Hope you had a good time at the game. By the way, Texans Collective was today at 6. Check it out. Myself, Stoots, a.k.a. SNL, Pendergast, and Reginald Atatula. Nice 4-piece combo there. And SNL in the morning, popping per the use. Ja'Cory Davis says, I'm a fan, but I'm also a realist. Whenever you start a sentence like this, you don't know which way it's going. Says, dirt balls to a wide open Schultz are unacceptable. CJ missed the very first play of the game to Nico. Missed touch. Watson and Nico in the end zone. Straight misses. Yeah, 100%. No chance for the guy to catch the ball. Accuracy is supposed to be that. Rob says, let's just go slow all game and clap at the line. Frustrated each game this year. What does CJ got to do for you to see? I don't know what you're talking about, man. I feel like CJ's got you blinded by love, which is great, man. Ride or die with it. Ride or die with it. Ain't no problem. Jordan Ortiz says, we've seen CJ make off-schedule plays, throws, but you can tell something is wrong with him. This offense as a whole, yeah, something's up. Something's up. I think like something's going on. We saw it last year. It was a bizarre display. Y'all gotta admit, it was a bizarre display. Something's up. Don't know what it is. Something's up. It's the fun. Matthew Marquez says, let's face it, Landry doesn't like CJ. What have I said to make you think that? I analyze him. I'm not on his nuts. I analyze him, but like what makes you think that I don't? I want him to do well. It's good for me. It's excellent for me. I like the guy. I think he seems like a good dude. I'm around him. I think he answers questions well. I think he is a talented player. And in the business that I'm in and how I pay the bills and how I have for the last 10 years, I don't lose sleep if they lose and we talk about it, but it's better for me. I can promise you. So don't project your emotions on me. Don't project your emotions on me, Matthew. I appreciate you for coming through. I'm not trying to pick on you. It's fair game here. If you don't want me to read your comment, just say don't read. I'll be happy to oblige. But don't project your sensitive emotions on me. I watched what I watched yesterday. I watched what I've watched the last 13 games. And I am going to be honest with you about what I'm seeing. Might be wrong, but that's just what it is. There's nothing to face about it. I expect more from him, and I think he probably expects more from himself, and something is up. So yeah, you don't need to project on me. You can write it all you want. But that's not I have nothing against him at all. How many more games are basically locked in losses for the Texans? 4 to 5 if the Texans don't shape up quickly. They can still be a 9 or 10 win team. There's no doubt. The defense, like for as much as frustrating as the offense is, the defense really is a couple of plays away from being elite. They really are a couple of plays away from being elite. And they have a defensive-minded coach that has shown that he's able to get the most out of his defense. So there's no problem with that. James Clancy asks, would Baker Mayfield make Bobby Slowick a head coach? That's an interesting question. He made Freddie Kitchens a head coach. Now that's Cleveland. They're dumb. But remember when he got Freddie Kitchens hired? He was one and done. Smartfully so. But I don't know what Baker just feels like he's just like makes head coaches. One of the damnedest things that we've seen. Rich, not so nice to CJ. He holds the ball too long, runs into sacks, inaccurate, and Kaylee with these long developing plays. Knowing the O-line is garbage, we need to use our rooks more. Nolan Higgins, especially Nico, top 10 wide receiver. Yeah, I thought that was weird. So, Demeco today, I asked Demeco if you can help the offensive line. Now, I think he just hung on my notion that if they're not going to win their one-on-one blocks. But listen to what Demeco said.
He reviewed the tape and
about the O-line. I'll go to it and we'll see what he had to say about it.
It's doom and gloom. Like we're not far away. We're close. I think we made a lot of strides in this game. On yesterday, we did a lot of positive things that we did well. Of course, there are always issues and things that you can correct, but it's not far off, right? We got to make the plays we're supposed to make. Well, we're pressing forward. I mean, we're looking forward to Jacksonville to see how we can clean this thing up and get it moving.
Next, we'll go to Sarge, Landry, and then Cody.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey, good afternoon.
One of the positive things that came out of the game last night was that Danielle Hunter recorded his 100th sack. I think he became the 15th player to do that in 136 games. Can you just talk about the effectiveness that Daniil has had, not only on the field but off the field as well, as far as the players are concerned?
Yeah, Daniil is, first off, congratulations to him, right? To reach such an incredible feat. It's an honor just to be working alongside him, right? And seeing how he works at his craft every day. He's a special man, special young man, and I'm thankful to be around him. He does a really good job of just playing with the relentless motor, as you saw in the game. He gave us a chance by getting after the quarterback, beating his man, rushing with extension, doing the things that we asked about, making plays on the screen. Like, he was all over the field, right? And I'm proud of him for this accomplishment. And he does a really great job, Sarge, you said, not only on the field but off the field. Like, his communication, his rapport with the guys in the locker room. He's a guy that a lot of guys lean on and they look up to just for how he carries himself. And so I'm thankful to have him on our team, thankful that he's a Houston guy, and being here in Houston means a lot to him. So it's always great.
All right, so this is a Daniil Hunter on a T question. So I asked him about the O-line. I probably shouldn't have said not win the one-on-one battle. My whole point is this, and maybe I probably should have said it in defensive terms because I think you probably understand it a little bit better. But when a corner sucks, you give him help over the top, right? Like, that's typically what you do. We know this offensive line, like all five of these guys aren't going to win their individual matchups. So whether it's the quick game, whether it's misdirection, whatever, you can figure some stuff out. Here was what Demeco said to it, though, and I think it's interesting.
Great coaching a guy like that.
Thank you.
Landry, go ahead.
Coach, with the offensive line, what are some ways that the offensive line can be helped, whether it's players that are not offensive linemen or coaches, to help make sure that blocks get picked up or plays are able to be executed instead of just relying on the offensive line to block the guy in front of them?
All right. So first and foremost, if you're offensive line,
this is what Demeco does sometimes. He'll hang on to one part of the question. And I get it. You don't want to coach in fear. You don't want to live in fear. You know, I know, he knows, everybody knows these guys aren't going to win their individual matchups all the time. So whether it's sliding the quarterback, whether it's getting rid of the ball quick, whether it's providing them with help, that's kind of what I was looking for. I don't know about this.
you have to block the guy in front of you. There's nothing nobody can do to help you with that. It's the NFL. So got to start there, Landry. You got to block the guy in front of you. Nobody's helping with that. And a couple plays we talk about protection and what happened in the game. A couple plays, we got beat. We just got beat one-on-one. A guard, we got beat one-on-one on the edge as well versus a blitzer. So in the NFL, and for me and what I teach, it's like, if you want to win games, you have to dominate your one-on-one. Everybody in every game, you're going to be left in a one-on-one matchup, whatever that looks like, offensively, defensively, special teams. That's what the NFL is about, winning your one-on-one. And the guys who win those one-on-ones consistently are the better players in the NFL. So you got to dominate your one-on-one.
That's just hard to imagine with this O-line, but I get what he's saying, and I get the mindset. I do get it. I just don't think it's real. I don't think that's how they're going to coach. But when you watch the games, it's like, wait, are they coaching like that? Just got to kind of wonder. Anzi super chat and the chat.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
T-Man says, you ever notice CJ throws only to open dudes? In his rookie year, he routinely threw in a bucket. CJ needs to wake the hell up. It's getting ridiculous. So do you think he's like trying not to throw interceptions? Do you think he's overthinking? Like, what would the example of that be? He's not necessarily throwing guys open, you're saying? Rich Boy J, I think this is interesting, so I'll bring it up because you're not the first person who said this. Do you think there's anything to CJ no longer starting pressers off with praising Christ anymore. Serious question. This is weird to me because this was something that he did routinely early in his career, whether it's a good situation or a bad situation. And it was always something that he kind of talked about how important it was to him. And I want to say since sometime last year, going back to when he said he wasn't having fun, it has kind of stopped. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it was a thing. And I would be interested to know what he thought about that. I wouldn't put him on the spot on something like that. But I do find it interesting that he did do that early. And you're not the first person to ask that, Rich Boy Jay, where it was a normal thing and it's just kind of stopped being a consistent thing. And you still know how he feels about it. So it's weird that it's just not a thing anymore. But I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to it or if it's just he's forgetting or anything. Like I know he still feels the same way. But yeah, I don't know. Primetime V says, I'm kind of confused regarding the Mixon situation. Does he be at the facility at all? Wasn't there at home? No, he's not. He's not there. Stephon Diggs wasn't there when he rehabbed. Joe Mixon is not either. But Petrie and Brevin Jordan, I saw Brevin Jordan the other day. Dude's walking. Now don't start your Tank Dell type rumors. He's not playing this year. But Brevin Jordan's walking pretty fast. Even Jimmy Ward's at the facility. But no, Joe Mixon is not. Preston was pretty worked up yesterday. He said, I'm good. Now slept since Monday. But now I'm going to have to stay even keel watching these games until they show me. Yeah, so you kind of channel your emotions a little bit. I think that's a good way to go about it. You know how some of you people in the chat get during games, and I can relate. Yeah, I think it's good to just relax, sit back, and just make them prove it to you. And they'll be playing lesser quality opponents the next couple of weeks. Not week 5 though. They got Baltimore. Jim says, can we put another apple cider vinegar bet for next game? Sure. If they lose to Jacksonville, I'll drink 6 ounces of apple cider vinegar to start the Monday night stream. Sure. Why not? Who cares? It's not bad for you anyways. Johnny Lambo had 2 questions. He said, what's the narrative Baker Mayfield gets tackled? That's an interesting question. And then what's the narrative if Dare Ogunbowale doesn't fumble and they end up winning? I mean, it's not. I think it's probably something to build on. You're definitely not as critical of the clock management with Demeco. I think that's what elite defenses do. So I think we'd probably feel better about the defense. I don't think that one play is enough to feel terrible, but I think that one play would have been feeling great because you made the stop when it happened. But I also think we're probably talking a hell of a lot more about special teams than we have. I think that's kind of like, for me, if they would have won that game, I would have called it the Frank Ross game, the special teams game. I don't think I would be looking at the offense much different because we saw what we saw with the offense, and CJ still wasn't fantastic. But you have something to build on. Obviously, 1-1 feels better than 0-2. But that would be what I think the narrative would be special teams, defense, bails out the offense, the ultimate example of complementary football. That's what I would have focused on. And I think we would go back to that stretch of the punt block. We go back to that stretch of the punt return. And that would be my narrative. This is from Johnny too. He says, I'm fast forwarding 4 years from now. I think CJ Stroud is going to leave football and be some type of religious / motivational speaker. The guy looks dejected and tired of the NFL. Tim Tebow. Well, Tim Tebow left the NFL because he couldn't play. I will say that you're not the first person who said that to me today. Like in some way, shape, or form. And the person, it's not someone who doesn't know anything. It's not like some sort of like big time insider, but I did have someone say to me that they didn't know, like they said, man, I could see CJ not being in the NFL in a few years. So that's weird that you said that too. And you don't know that person. I don't know that person, but you're the second person who has said that to me today, which I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's too much money. I don't think he completely hates football. I think there is like a roller coaster of emotions with him, but you are the second person to say that to me today. Jerome Kicks says Baker getting tackled don't end the game. They had 3 timeouts and would have held us to 3 8-point game. I think it pretty much ends the game, if we're being completely honest. They would have had to kill all 3 timeouts. I think it probably does end the game. But I get what you're saying. I think Jerome just plays a lot of Madden, maybe. Which don't we all? Don't we all? Next on the chat, someone says CJ to LA. There's just a lot going on. Grafa 0713, what a reach. I've heard it all. Hey, that's not, I'm just saying 2 people have said that to me. F Sleep says, Landry, what's next? A simple Jalen Noel is a better punt returner than Dameon Pierce and Woody. Mark is a better running back than Dameon Pierce. Trade Dameon Pierce. This is what I don't understand. Like, if someone stinks, why do you think someone wants to trade for him? Like, if Dameon Pierce can't even be active on this team with this running back room, why would anyone want to trade for him? Like, in the next step for Dameon Pierce is he gets cut, if anything. I don't know like what his trade value would be. I don't know what his trade value would be. I think Jerome Kicks doesn't really. He says kill 3 timeouts with 2-minute warning. No, it's incorrect, brother. The 2-minute warning had already expired when Baker ran that ball, so that's incorrect. I think you have your times messed up. The 2-minute warning was already done after the Chubb situation. So I don't know. Maybe you were on that hizzy yesterday when you were watching the ball game with the Baker thing. But yeah, I think in Madden maybe you'd be able to get a possession back. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah, so when Baker ran on the back end, there was 124 left in the game. And the 2-minute warning had already gone by. So yeah, they would have had their 3 timeouts. It would have been like 124. So, and it would have been at the 32-yard line. So you'd have plenty of time. You'd be in field goal range, and then you would figure it out. Texans used their timeout after that. I thought it was the biggest miscue by Demeco after that run. He should have immediately called timeout. Because if you immediately call timeout there, I mean, you're stopping the clock with like 1:10 left. Instead, he called a timeout on the next play with 52 seconds left after the clock had already stopped. So Demeco used the timeout with 52 seconds left after the clock had already stopped. He should have called the timeout with like 1:10 left. And then Tampa Bay called their first timeout with 42 seconds left. They had a pass. And then Demeco doesn't use his timeout till 9 seconds left. And he took one home with him. So I wonder if that was like Demeco's midnight snack last night. He had a timeout with like some queso on it or something. He probably didn't eat queso. He probably had like a timeout salad. He took the timeout home with him and like chopped it up, seasoned it, had a salad. Do I see Dari being useful at all? You know who I saw yesterday walking by the locker room? Drew Rosenhaus. I'm going to quote Drew Rosenhaus. Next question. Timeout and some hummus. Yeah, that's what Demeco had. He had timeout and hummus. He went up to Kraft Pita. He took that timeout home with him, man. He called 2 timeouts with the clock stopped. Wasn't fun. So we've talked about the Colts. We're putting a bow on what's up with the Texans. What about their next opponent, the Jags? If you thought the Texans had a bad loss, how about the Jags? Joe Burrow leaves the game with a hurt toe. Trevor Lawrence, he was missing receivers, and then he was throwing dimes. The receivers were dropping the ball. There was a drop by Brian Thomas, who's getting completely cooked in Jacksonville. There was a drop in the end zone by Brown. There was a moment where Liam Cohen yelled at him. By the way, Browning stunk. He threw 3 interceptions, and the Bengals still won the game. So the Bengals improved to 2-0, but Burrow is going to miss significant time. That's a team that's kind of on the tier with the Texans. They found ways to win, and right when they find ways to win games that they lost last year, Joe Burrow goes down. Bad luck with the Bengals. But the Jags' loss was as ugly as it's been. As ugly as it's been. Now, does misery love company? Chiefs 0-2 also. Does that make you feel any better? Chiefs have lost to a couple of good ball clubs. Some would say like the Texans. So they're 0-2 too. Does that make you feel much better? The answer for me would be probably not. But on to Jacksonville. Texans open as a 1-point dog in Jacksonville. I would probably take that bet, but you know what? Betting on this team has not gone very well for me. Betting on this squad has not gone very well for me. But I think Demeco's going to. The craziest stat that I heard today was on the Texans Collective. The Texans have won 11 straight road division games. That is wild. 11 straight division road games. That's just wild. So the division's been good to him. You want to get back to 500? Guess what you got? 2 division games. We'll see if Demeco can handle it. One thing that we do know is the defense hasn't been elite. They're not far off. The offense feels far off. It feels like there's a lot of problems with the offense. The defense is not far off from being elite. We might be saying they're elite, and this is the fine line between, like, when Demeco Ryans says, you know, it's about this play or that play or that play, he is right. Like, if they make that play of Baker Mayfield and they end the game, maybe this whole statement that the hasn't turns into a has when you look at the stats. So he is right about that. I do think the defense still has potential. Which brings me to the 3 certainties before we get out of here. And shout out to everyone for coming through. Shout out to Sleeper, Texans Turf, for sponsoring. Texans bag headed tomorrow. It'll be on to Jacksonville 100% tomorrow. This has been a rough reaction Monday/Tuesday. So I understand. Certainty number 1. I think Demeco will fix the defense. I don't know what I'm not going to say much about the offense. But I think Demeco will fix the defense. They will play better. I think that's certainty number one. Certainty number two.
Captain Kirk, can you save me? Captain Kirk, I want to have your baby.
Christian Kirk will help. He will help. How much? Don't know. Maybe there's like some different element. Maybe CJ Stroud gets comfortable with Christian Kirk. Problem is, you don't know how long he's going to stay in the lineup. Demeco Ryans said that he may be back. He should help. And maybe he'll free stuff up for the rookies. Don't know, but he will help. They thought enough to trade for him and not get him on the market. And there's a couple of factors there. Christian Kirk looking for revenge against the Jags. Azeez Al-Shire, we know they're going to be looking for revenge against him. There's a lot of factors there, assuming that Kirk does play, which might be a dangerous assumption. And then certainty three, this shouldn't be a thing. Should have already happened, but the rookies will play more. Nick O'Brien-Cayley, who apparently doesn't like rookies, just like B.O.B., we're going to see more Woody Marks. We're going to see more Higgins. We're going to see more Knoll. Should have already done that. But we will see it. There's no doubt about that. I don't know what's happened to Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne has revived his career. My God, he's good again. That was a guy that I wanted no part of in fantasy. And quite frankly, you look back, I'm sure you do in your fantasy leagues, you say, damn, I should have taken him. I'll be damned. Absolute craziness. We'll see what happens. Hopefully next week there's a little bit of a dub. If not, sky might be falling. Who knows? That's just kind of the nature of Reaction Monday, Tuesday. SNL tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Locker Room stream, 10:30 per the use. Texans Collective, Mondays at 6 o'clock with Reginald and Sean. Get Texans Turf in your home, texasturf.com. Download that sleeper app. Use the promo code LOCKER. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Appreciate everyone for coming through. We'll see how it goes. On to Jacksonville. A lot of panic around here.
Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.